Picture this. You're 65 years old. You've just walked out of your workplace for the last time. The handshakes are done, the cake is eaten, and you're driving home wondering what tomorrow looks like. For some Aussies, tomorrow looks like coffee on the deck and a paid off home. For others, it looks like a mortgage statement landing in the letterbox and a panic about how the next 25 years are going to work. So, which group is bigger? How many Australians actually retire debt free? And what separates the people who get there from the people who don't? Stick with me, because the numbers might surprise you. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you sit and what to do about it. Let's start with the headline figure. According to the latest data, around 66% of recent Australian retirees own their home outright, with no mortgage hanging over them. On paper, that sounds reassuring. But here's the catch. That number is shrinking fast, and the generation right behind them is in serious trouble. Research from the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute shows that 28% of Aussies aged 50 to 64 are now carrying mortgage debt into retirement. Back in 1990, only 7% of households aged 65 and over still had housing debt. Today, that figure has more than doubled to 15%, and it's climbing every year. Some economists project that by 2040, fewer than half of Australian retirees will own their home outright. That would mark the biggest shift in the retirement landscape since compulsory superannuation was introduced in 1992. So when we ask how many Aussies retire debt-free, the honest answer is this. The majority still do, but the majority is getting smaller, and the type of debt people carry into retirement is getting heavier. We're not talking about a $5,000 credit card balance anymore. We're talking about mortgages of $200,000, $300,000, sometimes more. And once you stop earning a regular wage, that debt doesn't shrink. It eats your super. In recent years, Australians who retired while still renting or paying off a mortgage had on average just over half the superannuation balance of outright homeowners. In fact, 59% of retirees who didn't own their home outright finished work with less than $100,000 in super. Compare that to homeowners, where the figure was just 26%. So debt at retirement isn't just a debt problem, it's a wealth problem, a confidence problem, and a lifestyle problem. Vanguard's How Australia Retires report found that nearly half of Australians who retired with a mortgage said they felt slightly confident or not at all confident about their retirement. And confidence matters more than people realise. Retirees who feel secure about their finances are statistically more likely to spend, travel, and enjoy the lifestyle they worked decades to earn. Those carrying debt tend to do the opposite. They hoard their super out of fear, live smaller than they have to, and turn what should be the best years of life into an extended cost-cutting exercise. Now let's talk about why this is happening, because it's not because Aussies are lazy or bad with money. The reasons are bigger than that. First, property prices. The median house in Sydney now sits close to $1.8 million, and even regional markets have doubled in the last decade. People are buying their first home later. In fact, first home buyers aged over 45 now make up 10% of the market, up from just 2% back in 2005. If you buy your first home at 45 on a 30-year loan, do the maths. You're 75 before that mortgage is gone. Second, we've got higher interest rates squeezing repayments compared to a decade ago. Third, more Aussies are pulling equity out of their homes in their 50s to help kids onto the property ladder, to renovate or just to cover the cost of living. Every redraw resets the clock. And then there's the silent trap. Credit card debt and buy now, pay later. Australians are currently carrying close to $20 billion in credit card debt that's actively attracting interest, the highest level in over 4 years. For pre-retirees juggling a mortgage, a car loan, and a couple of credit cards, the interest alone can wipe out years of super contributions. You're not falling behind because you're spending wildly. You're falling behind because the system charges you interest while inflation eats your savings at the same time. Think about it like this. If you got $15,000 sitting on a credit card at 21% interest, you're handing the bank over $3,000 a year just to stand still. There's also a generational shift happening that nobody warned us about. Our parents and grandparents bought homes for 2 or 3 times their annual income. Today, the average Aussie is buying at 8 to 10 times their household income. That changes everything. It changes how long you carry the loan, how much interest you pay across your lifetime, and how much is left over for super, investments, and lifestyle. A typical Australian today will pay more in mortgage interest across their working life than their parents paid for their entire home. So here's the real question. If you're 40, 50, or 55 right now and you're staring at debt, what do you actually do about it? There's a clear framework that works, and it's simpler than most people think. The first step is knowing the number. That means sitting down and writing out every single debt, the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum repayment. The second step is attacking the highest interest debt first. Credit cards and personal loans before the mortgage. The maths doesn't lie. A 21% credit card eats wealth faster than a 6% home loan ever will. Step 3. Make your super work harder. The average Australian retires with around $200,000 in super, but the ASFA Comfortable Retirement Standard now says a single person needs roughly $630,000 to retire comfortably, and a couple needs around $730,000. Salary sacrificing even an extra $100 a week into super in your 40s can add tens of thousands of dollars to your final balance, thanks to compound growth. And here's the kicker. Every dollar you salary sacrifice is taxed at just 15% inside super instead of your marginal rate, which could be 32%, 37%, or even 45%. Step 4. Don't refinance into a longer loan just to lower repayments. That's how a 25-year mortgage becomes a 35-year mortgage. And suddenly you're 70 and still paying the bank. Instead, look at making fortnightly repayments rather than monthly. That tiny switch alone can knock years off your mortgage and save tens of thousands in interest without you feeling a thing in your weekly budget. Step 5. Reframe your relationship with debt. Debt isn't a moral failure. It's a tool that's been mismanaged, oversold, and normalized. The Aussies who retire debt-free almost always share one mindset. They treat every dollar of debt as a dollar stolen from their future self. Once you see your mortgage as a thief, you start paying it down with a completely different energy. They also tend to live below their means even when their income jumps. Pay rises don't become bigger houses or newer cars. They become extra mortgage repayments and bigger super contributions. There's one more piece nobody mentions. Your partner. Money problems are the number one cause of arguments in Australian households, and couples who don't talk openly about debt almost always end up paying for that silence later. Sit down together once a month, look at the numbers as a team, and set one shared goal. Two people pulling in the same direction will always beat one person trying to fix it alone. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The number of Australians retiring debt-free is going to keep falling unless something changes inside your own household. The government isn't coming to save your retirement. Your employer's 12% super contribution alone won't get you there. The only person who can change your number is the person watching this video right now. If this video helped you, do me a favor and hit the like button. It helps more Aussies find this content. If you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there.